Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to your weekly addiction. That's right. It is midweek. It's Wednesday night. The Game Hump is here, and Saru, Maru, and myself are here to give your ears, your ear holes, some pleasuring. That's what we're here to do. Oh yeah, Saru Maru-san, how are you, my good friend?
Good, man. Not
Just
too
good.
bad. Just good.
Just good. Cool.
I'm good. Busy with a lot of stuff. I actually finally got to do some video game playing this week, which is amazing because I never get that kind of time. So I'm doing pretty good.
That's awesome, dude. That's really cool. So, did you get to play anything really cool? Anything exciting? Anything fun?
So I picked up a SCART cable for the Sega Saturn. Yeah, so it looks like crystal clear now on my TV, which is pretty awesome. I don't know if you knew, like the Saturn was capable of doing RGB like from the get-go, which is pretty dope.
That is so cool. So you didn't have to mod it or anything?
No, you just get a SCART cable, and I bought this cheap little $35 SCART to HDMI adapter on Amazon, and I connected to my TV, and it looks phenomenal. It looks great. Like the colors are nice and sharp, and it's amazing. I got to play a game called Neketsu Oyako, which is like a beat 'em up, which was pretty awesome. Played some Dragon Ball, a bunch of cool stuff.
That's so cool. So the connection out of the back of the Saturn, is that just the regular Saturn connection that goes into a SCART then, or is it?
So let's see.
Now you got me curious here.
Yeah. So this is the SCART connector, right?
Yes, it is.
Average 20 pin or 21 pin or whatever. And then the other end just looks like your standard Sega Saturn plug, and it plugs right in there. And you take this little guy here and you hook it up to your SCART cable. This is a Porta, I believe, is the manufacturer, some Chinese thing. HD video converter, SCART to HDMI. And what it does is it upscales your SCART signal, which is true RGB, to 720 or 1080. You just plug this little guy right in here. If I put it the right way, blam, and you got yourself RGB out to HDMI, and you can connect it to your LCD TV, and it looks awesome.
Wow. So how much did that adapter cost?
So this guy here, which is the converter, this was $35, and then the SCART cable was $10.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So the Saturn to SCART cable was only $10.
Yep.
That is so freaking cool.
Yeah,
wow,
so
that's
for
awesome.
under $50, you could enjoy crystal clear RGB picture on your LCD.
So what you need now is a SCART to RGB connector, so you can use it on a traditional CRT monitor or a PVM.
Yes. So it's like SCART to BNC converter.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I went through that adventure about a month and a half ago when I got my MVS, my consoleized MVS, and I had no idea what SCART was all about, but I got the SCART to RGB, like you were just saying.
Right. You were saying that your CMVS was SCART out, yeah?
Yep.
That's cool. So if you get one of those little adapter guys for your thing, you can plug it up to your TV if you ever felt so inclined.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, though, is I don't know if I necessarily want to have HDMI out. I'd want it to have like S-Video out or something like that. So those adapters, I've been looking those up. Those are a little more expensive because you're kind of downgrading it from RGB to S-Video or RGB to regular AVs or whatever.
Yeah, so I'm actually waiting for a SCART to S-Video adapter because I'm actually fond of how S-Video looks on like the PVN.
Oh yeah,
S-Video looks phenomenal on it. So I don't know. I guess I'll have to wait and see.
You know, RGB is a big deal in the retro community, trying to get all your consoles to be RGB modded so that you have the absolute best looking picture possible on your CRT monitors. But you know what is the recent trend in 2016, Saru? And that's virtual reality. And I don't know about you, but I guess I kind of jumped in head first. I did wind up picking up fairly recently a Virtual Boy. So now I'm playing some Wario Land and a little bit of the ports of Panic Bomber.
Oh, nice.
That Hudson made for the Virtual Boy. it's interesting seeing that game on the Super Nintendo and also on the PC Engine and even on the Neo Geo. There were so many different ports of Panic Bomber, and it's just a really fun puzzle game, which kind of is a nice segue into what we're going to talk about today, and that's ports of games.
Oh.
But first, I kind of want to get a little bit of an opinion from you about what you think about this whole virtual reality garbage.
I kind of don't like the fact that Sony's... I don't know if VR is going to work as well on the original PlayStation 4s as it will on this new Neo. So, like, if you want to enjoy like the full effect of virtual reality, you kind of have to buy a new PS4. But I'll tell you what, I think virtual reality is it's gonna take up a good deal of the market. I think, because when I went to the PlayStation Experience when it was here in Vegas, I got to try it out, and it's pretty scary. Like it's pretty real. But it's pretty cool. I like it. What are your thoughts about it? What do you think about it?
I think that the last two video game console generations, I'm talking like the Xbox 360, the PS3, and now the PS4 and the Xbox One and the Wii and the Wii U.
Yeah.
They have, for the most part, other than the retro games that are made for it or the backwards compatibility with retro games,
right?
It has so little in common with what we grew up with in video gaming.
Yeah.
It has very, very little. There's
that's the thing. Like, for us older gamer folk, it might be a hard sell, because there's not going to be a lot of things that are going to appeal to us. Everything's going to be, let alone polygon games now don't really appeal to us. So, now throw polygon games and virtual reality, and it's going to be a tough sell.
Well, there's the Oculus Rift, and then there's another one that's out now. I can't even think what it's called, the Vibe or something like that, or Vibe or whatever.
Samsung manufactured one, I think. Right?
Yeah, something like that. We get the Game Informer magazine just because it gives us 10% off at GameStop.
Right.
And my kids read them, and I kind of skimmed through them, and half the magazine was virtual reality reviews.
Wow.
For Oculus Rift and whatnot, and the games were getting fairly decent reviews. But it's kind of like when the Sega CD first came out in the U.S. and the TurboGrafx CD, and you saw those FMV games for the first time, and it's like, okay, these are getting really good reviews, and everyone's saying it's the future, but are these games really fun? Are they actually really good?
Which was like 90% of Sega CD games, by the way.
Yeah, I know, and they looked amazing. I saw the screenshots, and I'm like, this is like playing a movie. And then the first time I saw Sewer Shark, I really was like, holy crap, I want to own this. And then about 5 minutes into it, I'm like, oh, wow, this is not that great. That and Night Trap were.
Night Trap is an excellent game.
It's so fun.
Superb acting.
Oh, it's such good acting.
Best acting.
The best acting I've ever seen in a video game. Well, it's a toss-up between that and Wirehead, because I really do like Wirehead. I think it's a fun game.
Like...
It stars Steve Whiting.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's really funny in it. Anyway, but I think like there's such a big gap between like what we grew up with gaming, Zelda's, Contras, Mario, Bonk, Sonic, and then what's big now, like Call of Duty and Battlefields and Halo, whatever is big now, Destiny, stuff like that.
VR is going to be big for that, for sure.
And then when VR, if it becomes mainstream or if VR becomes a big chunk of the gaming world, it's almost going to be like such a even further step away from what gaming was considered when I was younger that I don't even know if I'm going to be able to even consider it gaming. Like what is gaming? Like most people game nowadays on their phones. And I don't consider that. I don't consider like my mom a gamer because she plays Candy Crush.
Right. Yeah.
Although she probably, people like that probably put more hours into Candy Crush in a week than I do on my TurboGrafx. I only get an hour or two a week. They get
school us all in Candy Crush probably.
Probably. So it's like, man, I don't know. What am I trying to say here? I don't even know. I guess it's interesting, and I definitely want to try it. It seems like it'd be really fun. I just couldn't imagine owning one myself, unless it was all about the porn games, because that sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, no kidding, right? But then you'd be like, what am I touching? Am I touching anything? It's when they do once they give you gloves with haptic feedback, that's when it's going to get scary.
And underwear with haptic feedback.
Right? That already happened with Rez. We talked about that, right? Rez and...
I think so. Well, there was the old with the force feedback backpack that you could wear back in the day that played music and gave you like jolts of bass and stuff whenever you got hit or whatever.
I believe so. And then they had like a controller or something too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting on how they're going to be able to port games to it. I think that a lot of sequels, that if like Halo 6 or Resident Evil 7 or whatever that's coming out, if they're going to come out with a virtual reality version of it, it's going to be like
it's
weird. What about like a shoot 'em up? You're never going to see a shoot 'em up on a virtual reality machine, are you?
Like how would they do it? It'd have to be like a cockpit shooter in order for that to work, right?
No idea. It'd be interesting to see though, because anything in 3D kind of looks cool.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be like a virtual reality like arcade where you walk around and you just put coins into arcade machines and you're playing them and stuff.
Making it kind of cool for like 2 minutes until you realize, hey, I could just go and power my Sega Genesis or main cabinet or whatever.
Namco will come out with like an virtual arcade, Namco Museum.
Namco Museum VR.
Well, so what I wanted to talk about today, the main topic is ports. What does that mean? That means even today in gaming, you see games come out with one game for multiple systems. They port it from PC to Xbox One to PS4, even to Wii U sometimes. Yeah. And this goes all the way back from frickin' Atari 2600. Arcade games got ported to the 2600, usually very poorly. You'd see arcade games. Pac-Man get ported to that 2600. Oh, awful. But Nintendo games even got ported to Atari. And I'm just curious about what some of your favorite ports are. What would you consider a game that was ported to one system that was really terrible on one but really excellent on the other? Or if there's any like big polarizing opinions on
I think you already know what I'm going to say as far as what my favorite ports are and what direction I'm going to go in. Being a big
the PC Engine's ports were all the best.
Yes, of course. A good majority of them. Some of them were absolute crap. Like Strider, for instance, on an arcade card, right? Like
what a huge disappointment.
It was. Like you play, you're like, oh my god, the music's like rad, and you have all these cutscenes, and you get right into it, and you're like, there's like no parallax in this.
This is it's pretty sad. It's really disappointing.
The slashes were weak. Like the game was just weak, and like the Genesis Mega Drive version was so much better, and it just
isn't that weird?
Kind of stuff makes me cry when that happens because usually it's the other way around.
God, and the Genesis Strider was like almost a launch title. It like came with the first year the Genesis was out.
It did.
And 5 years later, NEC's like, we're gonna kick some ass with this version. It's like, nope, it is garbage.
It was absolute garbage.
It's so sad. That one and then Golden Axe.
Oh my god! I was just going to mention Golden Axe actually.
Well, if you're thinking of all the PC Engine ports that were actually worse than Genesis ones, I think those are your two major ones.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got Golden Axe is like this 8-bit travesty on CD-ROM. Like, and it's funny because you play it, if you'd never heard of Golden Axe, you play it for the first time, and you're introduced to these cutscenes, and you're like, holy shit, this is going to blow my fucking mind. And then you start playing it, and like there's like 4 colors on screen. The gameplay is just horrendous. It's huge disappointment. I think this episode should have been called Most Disappointing
Ports.
We haven't talked about any good ports yet.
Yeah, right. Well, okay, the PC Engine had some really good ones. I think one of my favorite ones was the arcade port of Street Fighter II Champion Edition.
Yeah.
And on the PC Engine, it was like this big thank you to all the people that had stuck with the PC Engine and the TurboGrafx. And it was like, it can really do just as well as the Genesis and the Super Nintendo.
For sure. Like there weren't as many colors as Super Nintendo, but it played a lot better, in my opinion.
It plays perfect.
The sound was excellent compared to the Super Nintendo, I think, just because it didn't have that weird, like, echoey reverb that voices had, music had, And actually, even the color palette I liked. For me, it was more aesthetically pleasing on the PC Engine than it was on the Super Nintendo, only because of that washed-out, blurred look that you get with Super Nintendo, with, like, I don't know if there were too many colors on screen or what, but it always looked kind of like they were running it through that, like, Gaussian blur, and it just looked weird.
It was really strange how, like, so you're talking about the Super NES's Street Fighter II, just the plain Street Fighter II, yeah. The Street Fighter II on the Super NES was really impressive when it first came out. I was so excited to see that as a home port of the arcade game. But Street Fighter 2 on the on Champion Edition on the PC Engine really was a step up from the Super Nintendo one.
It was.
It was on par, in my opinion, with graphics. The sound had your Hue card chip tunes. If you prefer the Super Nintendo reverb, then you're going to prefer the Super Nintendo reverb. And there's no denying, though, how much cleaner the vocals were and how much more crisp the graphics looked than the Sega Genesis version of Special Championship Edition.
Especially the audio.
Oh, it's crazy. It's nuts to see the PC Engine like competing on a level of a game that's that difficult to have ported, and just kicking ass. Like, it was like, God damn, why didn't more developers jump on board with the PC Engine or even the TurboGrafx in the US? Like, that game,
just all kinds of third party that could have jumped on and brought their games. And take an example from Capcom. I mean, look at Forgotten Worlds. Forgotten Worlds is also another great game on the TurboGrafx versus the Genesis version. The Genesis version was crap, in my opinion.
Yeah, that one was very similar to the Strider one because it came out. Our Forgotten Realms on the PC Engine came out well after the Genesis version of Forgotten Worlds.
Yeah, it's like a year after, I think. 1 year later.
Was it just 1 year? I thought it was like 2 or 3 years later because it was like a Super CD game.
I know Strider had some years on it.
Strider had a bunch of years.
Yeah, that was a late.
Was disappointing, but.
Come on, guys! Everybody hated the Super Nintendo Street Fighter.
A wild owl has appeared.
Welcome to the show, Owl Anonymous. By the way, we can't see you, but we can hear you, sir.
We can hear you.
You can't see me. Okay.
I've got my Master Ball ready.
I'll fix that in a second.
Okay. So, we were just talking about some of our favorite ports from one console to the next. Now I see a big owl. Ooh, cool. And I kind of wanted to talk real quick here about one of the greatest video game series of all time. And gosh, we could probably talk for an entire hour about this, or more hours. But how about a little bit of Ys? I always found it really interesting that we got Ys, The Vanished Omens, on the Master System, and then we didn't see Ys Book 2 until the TurboGrafx CD got Ys Book 1 and 2. However, we did get like a bazillion ports of Ys 3 on all of the major systems. In Japan, they got it on the Famicom. In the US, we got it on Super Nintendo, Genesis, and TurboGrafx. And I was just curious what some of your opinions are on these ports, because, not to be biased, because I love the games, I enjoy all of them, even the adventures of Aaron, the Wanderer.
That's Aaron. I can't remember what his name was on the Master System one.
It's Aaron. Aaron the Wanderer, and he's trying to defeat the evil sorcerer Dark Decked. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, there's a lot of apostrophes in this one too, in Ys the Vanished Omens.
Wise.
We were talking about that. Like, that's what the apostrophe is, right?
Huh?
I've talked about this with somebody because it's either, wise or yees. Like, but that Master System has the apostrophe s, and I think that's the only place it's at.
Wise.
That's funny.
Well,
I haven't played the Ys game.
All the Master System's fault.
For whatever weird reason, Ys 4, the PC Engine version of Ys 4, has an apostrophe in the Y too on the disc.
Does it really?
You ever notice that?
No.
Oh, go grab it.
I kind of want to go get it.
Go touch it now.
I'm gonna go grab it. You guys chit chat.
So while he's touching his Ys, I actually wanted to mention. I really do like the Super Nintendo version of Ys 3. This is actually the very first Ys game I ever played was on the Super NES.
Super Famicom, right?
Well, this is the Super Famicom.
Super Nintendo port as well?
Correct, yep. Okay. There was one on Super NES and Super Famicom. The one in the US was ported by American Sammy. And in my video gaming days, I jumped from the NES straight to the Super NES. And when I first saw Ys Book 1 and 2, or Wanderers from Wise, when I was a kid, I looked at it and I just looked at the cover and I'm like, God, this is awesome, because Castlevania 4 was a big game during that time. I had a lot of fun with that. ActRaiser was another one, and then Ys 3 was just another game that was in that awesome lineup of really fun action-adventure RPGs, side-scrolling action-adventure RPGs.
Sure enough, guys, there is an apostrophe in there. Look.
Isn't that crazy?
That's weird. I'd never noticed it because it's like right under that text, and I've had this disc since this came out. That's crazy. I never noticed that.
So it really is wise. We've all been fooled.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but that's the only place that's on there, though. That's so strange.
Yeah. That's weird.
But anyway, I played through Ys 3 on the Super Nintendo. This is the Super Famicom version, but Super Nintendo. And I really wound up liking it a lot. And
I actually like the Super Nintendo one better than the TurboGrafx-16 version, except for its music.
It's interesting. Yeah, I actually like the soundtrack too. That's what got me hooked on the soundtrack for the Ys games. And the scrolling is definitely better on the Super Nintendo version compared to the TurboGrafx.
That's actually the biggest thing, is the scrolling for me.
And everyone always says you get used to it, and I thought, you're crazy. There's no way you can get used to it. But in all seriousness, after an hour into it or less, you really do get used to it. And when there are certain parts in the game where it scrolls correctly, and it really fucks with your head. It's really weird. There's like the area with the like fire dragon or whatever in the pits, and there's like the lava and the fireballs falling at you.
Yeah.
There's one part of that level where it scrolls perfectly, and it doesn't make any sense. It's like, why is this one spot perfect? I remember like walking around back and forth, just like, why is it scrolling nice and smooth all of a sudden?
I'm just gonna stay here.
I'm just gonna stay here and take a screenshot of this or something, because it's amazing, and it's like, oh wow, this is what it should look like, and then you get back out and it's like, oh fuck, here we are again. But,
I think it has to do with the way PC Engine handles parallax. And
well, it doesn't.
When I say handles parallax, I mean not at all.
Yeah.
Because of how it's layered.
There's a few different interesting things about it. And I just played through Ys 3 on the PC Engine. I shouldn't say just, but it was right around Christmas time, so it's 6 or 7 months ago.
Yeah.
And the thing I noticed about it is the frame rate is what's really bad about it. It's not the backgrounds. Sometimes the backgrounds in certain areas don't move at all, and it's just the area that you're actually standing on, the planes that you're walking on. When you push over once, it doesn't just like smoothly move your character over. It kind of like jerks them over,
like,
and the whole screen moves over one jerk at the time. And so you're like, it's really weird, and you do kind of get used to it. It's strange to say that, but you do kind of get used to it as you're playing through it. The music's awesome, the soundtrack's amazing, the cutscenes are fantastic.
Yeah.
It is brilliant to play through it that way, but I really do like the Super Nintendo version too. Have either of you guys ever played the Genesis version of Ys 3?
Yeah, it's okay. It's not bad. It doesn't have any scrolling issues either. It's just less colorful.
It's very brown. I know Adol looks brown.
It's very brown. I like
brown.
how like the nickname to Genesis to a lot of us is just brown.
Yep.
It's like everything's brownish.
50 Shades of Brown.
50
With
Shades
brown
of Brown.
processing.
It's interesting because I've never played the Genesis one like ever when I was younger, and I played it on an emulator recently, and I think it actually has probably the prettiest looking graphics, minus that it's a lot of browns. But I mean, the Adol and his animations and his character look really good.
Yeah, and I think it actually has more layers of background layers than the Super Nintendo.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Probably because of blast processing.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
Such hardcore blast processing.
Have you guys talked about NES ports when they try to do an arcade port and fail or win? And
No.
then also, there's a lot of good NES
your
ports.
cue.
What's that?
That's your cue.
And they fail. And then there's a lot of good NES ports when they actually ignore, or not necessarily ignore it, but know the system's limitations and then do a really good port of it. Like for good arcade ports, there was Gauntlet was actually pretty good.
Yes.
I mean,
That was good.
And Gauntlet 2. Gauntlet 2, they kind of did their own thing. They didn't follow the Gauntlet 2 arcade game. And then Ghosts and Goblins was actually pretty good. And they knew the system's limitations, and they made a new game, basically. Like, they didn't try to just port the exact same game. You don't think it's that good? That's fine.
It's so frustrating and difficult,
Oh,
and the rewards are not quite at the same level of like Ghouls and Ghosts or Super Ghouls and Ghosts. You know, like those games give you a lot to look forward to with the levels and the brutality that is very rewarded with each level getting further. Ghosts and Goblins is like I don't know. There's only like 2 or 3 different background music, and there's only like a couple different areas that look any different than the other ones. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and that was a really early game too, and it kind of shows. I do have to agree with Owls though on Gauntlet. I think Gauntlet
The
was
DK
excellent.
games were pretty good too. DK Junior, DK3, and the original Donkey Kong port was actually really good,
Yes.
as opposed to like Pac-Man's, just so-so for an arcade game. Defender was really good.
You could always have the 2600 version of Pac-Man.
Pac-Man.
We
Don't
were
talk
just
about
talking
that.
that.
Somebody actually did a fan did an arcade port, and it's actually really, really good.
Yep.
Of Pac-Man.
Yep.
I think
saw
they
that.
did Miss Pac-Man as well. But it
For
has
the
like
Atari?
the music's good, the controls are good, and everything.
Yeah, the 2600. Someone redid the Pac-Man so that it was more arcade-like. It was more like the arcade game.
Contra, I actually like the Nintendo game better than the arcade game.
I agree with that one. Yep.
It's actually they extended they start the stages off the same and then they extend the level to make it longer. And I think there's 2 levels that are on Contra that's not on the arcade, but I could be mistaken.
No, I think you're right. I think.
Yeah, they changed. I'm sorry, those like first-person view levels where you're running around in the foreground. And
those are different.
Those are different.
Those on the arcade, they actually had the arcade game. Those have like an arrow and they like turn. You turn around there. And they're not as long as the NES port.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think what else. I was trying to think of more games. I was trying to think of a game where they knew the system's limitations and then they did a really good job with the port of it.
How about an arcade game that came out in the 80s that was ported to the 8-bit systems and was actually better on the Master System?
What? Double Dragon?
Rampage.
Rampage? Was Rampage better on the Master System than it is on the arcade?
It is, actually. It's quite a bit better. You can only select 2 of the characters out of the 3. Like, you can only be, what was it?
I see you're on the cover, though.
Yeah, well... Oh, I guess... Well, on the back it says you can be all 3, but then it has a screenshot of... Oh, maybe that's just the which characters they did take. It isn't 3 players simultaneous, but it is all 3 characters on the back. But I was just looking at this screen here thinking that was like the character selection or something like that.
It's probably only just through 2 players.
Yeah, you're probably right. No, this game is quite a bit better. It actually has way better music. The graphics are nicer and bigger. They look more closer to the arcade version.
Yeah.
And the NES version, while I always have fun playing it, with friends and stuff over, have a few beers, play it, whatever, it's really pretty lame compared to the arcade version.
You ever play Rampage World Tour?
That's a great game.
Yeah, I had that arcade. I bought that arcade game super cheap a while back. It was like in perfect condition.
Nice.
And then the N64 has a really good port of that. It's almost arcade perfect.
Yeah, I'd heard about that. Unfortunately I don't play N64.
Unfortunately, I don't play. I just got. Did we do the pickups thing yet? I got a pretty N64.
You got a new N64?
Yeah. I was looking for a pretty one for the HDMI mod.
Nice. No, we didn't do any. We didn't do really any pickups. I haven't got anything new other than I got a Neo Geo arcade stick for my AES.
Yeah, you got the square one or the Jelly Bean? Square, right?
I got a square, and my Jelly Bean's on the way.
Sweet. Let me know how you like the Jelly Bean.
I love the Jelly Bean. I used to have one before.
Oh, okay.
I always liked it. I like them both. I like them all, honestly.
I think I got this since last time. If you guys have ever played that.
Ooh.
Sanrio World Smash Ball. It's really good. It's kind of like Windjammers, but for Sanrio. And vertical instead of Hori. Really good game. If you can get over the theme, which I actually like the theme, it's a lot of fun. It's fast gameplay too.
How about a game that was ported to the NES, the Sega Genesis, and the PC Engine, and it's best on the NES?
Strip Fighter.
Oh, that's true.
Batman?
Batman.
Yeah, well, is it?
PC Engine's kind of a different game, though.
Yeah.
Well, the PC Engine version is a different game.
All 3 versions are different games, right?
It's not a very good game. Yes, that's true, but it was all done by Sunsoft, and if
That's
you think
true. If you wanted to say which the best Sunsoft game was in that
Batman.
same time, it'd have to be the NES one for sure.
Yeah, Batman Sunsoft's amazing. Music, gameplay,
the whole thing is
design, everything.
Yeah, I am starting to understand why people liked the Genesis version so much back in the day. Because I remember when it came out and all the magazines had it on the covers and they were like covering it and they were doing all this stuff and I was like, wow, that looks awesome. And then I remember playing it and I was like, what? This is crap. Like, it's not very good.
You thought it wasn't good? Was it because it was too hard or what?
I don't know. It's like, it reminds me more of like playing Shinobi. It doesn't have anything original about it. Like, I think I would rather play a game that's more similar to Ninja Gaiden, like this, mean, I don't know. This is pretty close to Ninja Gaiden, or mix of
Yeah.
this Ninja Gaiden and like Castlevania or something. Whereas Shinobi is fun, but I don't know. It wasn't. I don't know. It didn't have as much to offer, and the music's not as good as the Batman on the NES.
Yeah.
So I was kind of disappointed seeing like how it was supposed to be a big generation up from this one. I was like, oh, this isn't even as good. But now that I'm playing it now, I'm actually seeing like, okay, I can understand why people dug this. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The soundtrack kind of grows on you, and you could see where Sunsoft was doing some really interesting work with the Genesis in the very first of their 16-bit games. The really funny thing too, I think that one of the reasons why I was disappointed about it, because on the back of the Genesis cart, it has screenshots of the NES game.
Does it really?
Yes, on the
What
Genesis
an
box, I
oversight.
should say.
Wow.
Crazy.
So I was thinking it was just going to be the NES game with Genesis music or something. So I'm like, this is awesome. I can't wait to play this. I don't know why I would even think that's cool, but I did. And I got home and then I played it and I'm like, oh, this is not the NES one. It's Shinobi with a Batman costume. You know, whatever.
That's funny.
Ninja Gaiden's another game where they realized the system's limitations on the port, and they actually made a whole new game.
True.
I was trying to think if there was, because the arcade game's a lot different. I was trying to think if there was there was actually, I think there's a prototype port of the Ninja Gaiden arcade game. I forgot what system it's for. I think it's Genesis.
I think there is one on the Genesis, but also
PC
that
Engine's not a port of the Nintendo game.
of the
Oh, the
NES
Nintendo one, yeah.
Yeah.
But not like I'm saying of the actual arcade game.
the arcade game, which was more of a beat 'em up. Yes,
Because-
there was one official release for that, and that was on the Atari Lynx.
Oh, but
That's right.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's very pixelated and it's hard to play, but guess what? The arcade game was hard to play too, so it's pretty fun. It's pretty good. The Lynx actually got Ninja Gaiden, that original one, and then they got the Ancient Ship of Doom, the third one.
They're saying, okay, I'm reading a wiki, and it says it got several ports: the Amstrad CPC, the Commodore 64, the Commodore Amiga, the ZX Spectrum, and it also had a PC port.
Oh
wow.
yeah.
I didn't know all that. Yeah, but yeah, there's a prototype Genesis. I'm pretty sure it's Genesis. That's pretty close to the arcade. They were tried and then they just abandoned.
Yep, there was supposed to have been a Ninja Gaiden 4 in development for the Genesis too.
Oh wow.
I remember seeing screenshots of that in like EGM or something, and it looked more like the arcade version because it had like Ryu standing on like a 3D plane where some of the screenshots he was down low and some of them he were up higher, and the characters he were fighting were like staggered in like different areas of depth or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. That's just how I remember it.
Cool beans.
Yeah. Ninja Gaiden's a good one to talk about. I never have ever played a ZX Spectrum. I've never played, any Commodore 64 versions or anything like that. But it would be cool. It'd be cool to see. There's a guy on YouTube that does like when a game has ports to several different systems, they do the comparisons from like the very first system it came out on to the very last.
Those are cool videos. I like those because
Those are really awesome.
Yeah, what they all look like in comparison.
I like the Xbox One versus PS4 comparison where they do the half screen and then they do like, and you can't even tell it's like shadows.
I can't tell anything.
It's like,
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
That's real helpful. That's great. Yeah, PS4 is so much more powerful. One that is a good one, in my opinion, is this little NES gem right here, River City Ransom.
Yeah.
And this one actually wound up coming out on the PC Engine later as Downtown Neketsu Monogatari. And I love the PC Engine one. That one's a lot of fun. I think the soundtrack with the CD audio is really cool. Even knowing it basically just sounds kind of like maybe higher quality, like 16-bit music versions of these.
Yeah.
It's not exactly like Red Book audio or anything like that. And then the River City Ransom EX that came out on the GBA was also really good. It's kind of crazy. They've never messed this game up yet. Just waiting for them to finally someday mess it up. But
what's all the sports games where they look like the same guys as that?
the Cuneo?
In America, it came out as Crash and the Boys Street Challenge.
Yeah.
The PC Engine has like every version. It's like volleyball and soccer.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're super long names. So.
Yep. And they're all Downtown Neketsu something. There's basically there's Cuneo Soccer. That's everyone calls it Cuneo Soccer, but I don't believe that's what it's really named. And then there's Downtown Neketsu Yoshinkyoku, which is the It's like
Damn it, I had some of those games over here.
I only have Monogatari, Yoshin Kyoku, and then Kunio Soccer. Oh, and also Super Dodgeball came out on the PC Engine as well.
Yeah.
Some people, it's like it is a very different play control scheme, but once you get used to it, it's freaking awesome. I mean, it's very similar to the Neo Geo one or the original arcade game. I think the NES one had us kind of spoiled. It made a lot of the running and the super moves a little easier to do, whereas the PC Engine it's a little more difficult. But basically, like the Yoshin Kyoku one, which is one of my personal favorites, is like a cross country. It just kind of like you're running through one area, and then you're swimming, and then you're climbing, and then you're jumping over something, and you're doing a swing pole vault or something like that. And it's like 4 players simultaneous. You're just running from one spot to the goal.
So much fun.
And you have to go through all these different like obstacles through it. And then, dude, when you have 4 players, it is probably the most fun multiplayer game on the PC Engine. It's so hilarious.
That was actually one of my first Famicom games ever. Was that game, but for the Famicom in like 1989.
Yeah.
Well, pirated, but
sure,
still imported.
That's awesome. That's so
we talked about Dai Nakamura for.
Oh, that's a good one.
Genesis and the Super Graphics, yeah. And they're all completely different. None of them are. It's cool because none of them are straight arcade dumps.
Right.
They're all pretty unique. Dai Nakamura is actually considered the best by people that don't play the game, but by people that play the game, they like the Mega Drive version.
Yep.
The Dai Nakamura for the Super Graphics actually has a lot of slowdown and a few changes that are not in the arcade game.
I actually think the Mega Drive version is better, sadly.
Yeah.
It always hurts when I say that. Every time I say that, it's like, oh, but it's true.
So why? I think the PC Engine version is beautiful. Like
It is, but it doesn't. It's not as smooth as the Genesis version or the Mega Drive version. Yeah, like
Genesis can check it out, man. It plays great.
Yeah, the gameplay is a lot more tight on the Mega Drive.
I have it on the Genesis. I haven't. I don't know. I guess I never really went all the way through it. So
I guess I never got past level 2.
I guess I probably never did. No, I cheated my way through the Super Graphics one with save states, but
I watch a guy named Aquas _ on Twitch that has a lot of the world records for all the Dai Nakamura games.
Wow.
Really?
He has the arcade, he has the Super Graphics, and I believe he has the Genesis one.
What's his username? Is that Dark Kobold?
It's Aqua S _ Aquas.
Okay. Dark Kobold is very, very good at the Dayakamara game for the for the Super Graphics.
Okay, I have to check him out. Unless that's a joke.
No, he's the guy in the forums that everybody loves. Dark Kobold.
Okay.
DK.
Assisted speedrun or whatever.
Yeah, he does the TASs.
Yeah.
I got you.
How about Double Dragon games?
Double Dragon. Well, 2 is actually like a whole unique game. The 2 arcade game is really weird, but 2 for the NES is amazing.
This is like my favorite Double Dragon game ever, right here.
Yeah, it's my favorite too.
It's so freaking perfect.
1, you can only play 1 player on the Nintendo. On the Master System, you can play 2 players, which is nice.
Yep, I still think the NES version's better though. It has better music. And I think the gameplay is a little bit better. I love the idea of like leveling up while you're playing. It kind of teaches you how to play better because you don't need a lot of those moves right from the beginning. Otherwise, it would be way too easy. It kind of just you into it and you start to learn as you go.
Double Dragon 2, like the sound, like that game is so burned into my memory. I can hear that up arrow just right now, or like the sound when a weapon hits the floor, the clinking sound. Yeah, I played a lot of hours in that game.
And I know the Genesis version of Double Dragon 2 was the arcade game port, which is not as good.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty weird.
Let's check it out.
But the PC Engine Double Dragon 2 is actually a port of the NES game. It's kind of a mix of the NES and the arcade.
Yeah, it's like it's got elements of the arcade graphically, and then it's got like the stage layout that the NES one did. I found that completely weird, but excellent. The cutscenes are corny, but...
What about the Neo Geo games? Can we talk about those?
Oh yeah, Double Dragon.
Yeah, the fighting. There was a fighting game. Wasn't there another game too? There was 2 games or 1 game?
I liked the fighting game actually, with all its corniness.
Yeah. And then there was the Double Dragon versus Battletoads.
Yes.
For Nintendo and Super Nintendo, I believe.
Oh,
Since
There was an
really
NES one, a Super NES version, and a Genesis version.
Genesis as well.
so
Yeah,
I didn't play the 16-bit ones. Have any of you guys played them, and how do they compare with each other?
So you've only played the NES Battletoads and Double Dragon game?
Yep.
That's the rarer one, isn't it? That's the one that's harder to find.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone up in price by a lot, so I've not picked it up. I never have ever owned the NES one, but it's really glitchy too. I've seen some people glitch through it on like speedruns on all games played quick or whatever, good games played quick or whatever that event is. Anyway,
AGDQ, all games.
Yeah, that's it.
Summer games done quick and just games done quick.
When is that coming up? Is that coming up pretty soon?
Summer games done quick's coming up here shortly. In like a month
Those
or
are so fun. Like that event is so fun to watch on Twitch. Anyway, Battletoads and Double Dragon on the Super NES is probably the best version you can get. It's got an amazing soundtrack, really, really good, fun gameplay. It's really fun. The Genesis one's also really good, but man, the Super NES one just has that soundtrack that I can never get out of my head.
Cool. I'll have to check it out.
So the first game I ever streamed was a Genesis game, and I was checking out ROM hacks because I thought it'd be funny, and I loaded up a game called Butt Babies and Tranny Tramps. And it's a sprite ROM hack of Double Dragons and Battletoads, and it's just absolutely repulsive. It's disgusting.
Wow.
I got the ROM. And we immediately turned it off, and then I think we played Glaylancer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but
all of the Battletoads games were done by the musical composer David Wise.
Oh, wow.
He wound up doing a lot of Trade West games and Rare games back in the day, like Wizards and Warriors and a few other ones. And if you like David Wise music from like Battletoads 1, you'll love the Super Nintendo soundtrack for Battletoads Double Dragon. It's so good.
I like the Wizards and Warriors.
Yeah, he did all the Wizards and Warriors. Like I just looked up Battletoads because I love the soundtrack for Battletoads, and like it's David Wise, and I'm like, what else has he done? Man, Wizards and Warriors. He did RC Pro-Am. He did Cobra Triangle. He did WrestleMania Challenge and all those wrestling games that he did. And he did a lot of into the 16-bit era. He did all the Trade West games and Rare games. I do not know if he did Donkey Kong Country. That would be a good one to look up. Because if he did, then man, that guy's legendary. I don't think he did though. Okay. Yeah, David Wise is pretty awesome.
Everyone's
very loud.
Timothy
My
Collin.
very loud gaming keyboard. Yeah, David Wise as well. He did Donkey Kong Country too.
Oh wow,
that guy is awesome.
He might have done one as well. I don't know.
Well, that guy's pretty awesome, man. But yeah, I love the Battletoads and Double Dragon games.
Oh, yeah,
They're so much fun.
He did Donkey Kong Country 1 too as well.
That is freaking awesome, and that guy is really good because that game's got a great soundtrack. But man, yeah, just a lot of really, really fun games. They're all fun. Battletoads games are really cool. The Genesis ones, it's weird because the Genesis should play really, really well, and they should probably play better than like the NES versions. But like Battletoads on the Genesis is weird because they like fixed things that they shouldn't have fucked around with, and like they tried to make things like either if it was I think they made it a little easier. Like some of the things like that turbo tunnel and a few other places where it was just so hard that it was.
Oh my god! On the NES one, that's where I just stopped. Was that tunnel?
No, most people stopped.
It is. It's kind of weird. Most people in that game it was the turbo tunnel, and then in the original Ninja Turtle game it was the dam level where you have to defuse the bombs or whatever. But like once you get past those, you miss so much if you don't get past those levels. It's kind of crazy.
You know what was a really good port for the Nintendo of an arcade game was the Ninja Turtles arcade game.
It was actually
really impressive.
Yeah.
It had more levels. It had really good soundtrack. Yeah, it's a really good game.
Yeah, more on what Owl was saying about how developers are using their limitations really well. That's actually a really good example of that.
Oh yeah.
Using the limitations that they had to still simulate that arcade feel, even though it didn't really look like it, but it felt like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot like it.
When the arcade game came out on the NES, did you guys have NESs, or was that during your time when you were growing up, or?
Oh, I had an NES, yeah.
I had the game. I still have my original copy.
So did you do the Pizza Hut pizza? Did you get the personal pan pizza and the instruction manual?
It was a medium pizza.
To get an instruction manual.
Yeah, it was
What's
a
that?
medium pizza.
It was in the manual. I remember getting the what maybe it was a medium pizza, but that was like the coolest thing for me was like
It was.
getting the game and then like going to Pizza Hut and enjoying pizza and when I was growing up, Pizza Huts had arcade games in them, so it was like even cooler to sit there and play games while I was waiting for my pizza or whatever. And it was like go home and play Ninja Turtles and oh man.
It was awesome, and I was a poor ass kid too, so I cut that shit right out of the manual and took it to Pizza Hut.
Yeah,
so like, I want my pizza.
I used to, do you guys remember the Pizza Hut? You'd read a book and you get a star thing.
Oh yeah, book it. They still do that, dude. They still do it.
I would like read the cliff notes and then like answer the questions so I could eat pizza.
You were pizza.
Oh, read like the first chapter and the last chapter.
Yeah.
And get filled in. Our Pizza Hut's always had R types and Altered Beasts and sometimes Play Choice 10s.
Yep.
Trying to think what else I saw on Pizza Huts a lot. Maybe a Miss Pac-Man or Pac-Man cocktail.
Yep.
On the West Coast, we saw a lot of the Goonies in Pizza Hut. And,
versus Goonies.
Bubble Bobble.
Bubble Bobble, yeah. I guess it was just probably just Operator's Choice.
Yeah, probably.
Ours had in the Midwest we had versus Castlevania and then versus Super Mario Brothers, which is really weird because the levels were all like screwed up and crazy. And then Mario Brothers was actually in a cocktail, so that was like crazy, like looking down like this while you're playing it. Oh man!
Get out of here! That's weird.
I would love to see where that went, because man, I would love to have that. But yeah, I have like great fond memories of playing Super Mario Brothers on the cocktail and listening to Castlevania because it always played the attract mode where it'd be like, whoosh, whoosh, do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
When you get your Oculus Rift, you can re-simulate that whole. Have a pizza open next to you so it smells like pizza.
We were actually talking about that, how Namco is going to come out with Namco Museum virtual reality version.
Heck yeah, dude, I'd totally do that.
You could go to an arcade and virtually play in it with the Oculus Rift.
So there's also arcade ports that are arcade perfect. PlayStation and Saturn got a lot of games where they're pretty much exactly the same. A lot of shooters for the Saturn. And a lot of perfect like Taito arcade ports for the PlayStation.
Yep.
Yeah. Ray Crisis and
what's that?
Ray Crisis,
Raystorm,
Psychic Force,
Layer Section, Battle Garega. A lot of, I mean, I guess Battle Garega has a little bit of input lag or something like that. Dreamcast as well, had a lot of really good arcade ports.
Yeah, but
Elevator Action Returns on the Saturn.
Oh my god, that's an amazing game, dude. So good. You know, I only played that for the first time about 2 months ago on stream, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
I do not have the Saturn version, but I got the Taito Legends 2 version for the PS2, and I heard it's just as good, so I'm looking forward to playing that. I used to have Elevator Action Returns on the Saturn, and I wound up getting rid of it many years ago.
Yeah. Oh man, it's
like an idiot.
$150 now.
I have a very silver version of it, silver on both sides.
Oh, nice.
It smells like burning.
Nice. Those are the best versions.
Yeah. I
gotta get my Saturn modded so I can do that.
Modded.
I gotta get. I
have that Pasueto Saturn flashed action replay card that I bought off somebody on Facebook in the Saturn group. And they will ship it to you, and then you just plug that in your Saturn, and it plays burns and region free, makes it region free.
I heard you can do that with like action replays too.
Yeah, that's what it is. He flashes them for you, or you can buy, if you already have an action replay, you can just download the CD image, burn it, and flash your own that way.
Oh, damn it. Cool. I gotta do that. Our good friend Peter Tuttle also does that. He offered that to me like a long time ago, and I keep forgetting to like take him up on that offer.
Oh, the action replay flashing?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I gotta do that. It'd be pretty slick.
My Saturn's been modded for, I don't know, since like 2002 or something. Crazy.
The Stone Age.
Yeah, it's actually an easy mod though. It's like a 2-wire solder.
Saturn? To play burns?
Yeah, Saturn to play burns and to make it region free and blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy install, but for a while the mod chips weren't like available anywhere. I think there's somebody selling them now for like $40 or $50.
Right, back then they were like $20 too.
Yeah,
it's crazy, and they were everywhere, and then they just disappeared.
So I remembered another really good arcade port. Taito actually had a bunch of good arcade ports. Like Growl was really good for the Genesis.
Genesis, yep.
That's very similar to the arcade game. Growl, like Growl.
I never heard of it.
It's
I remember
beat 'em up where you save animals.
That's great.
I remember seeing Growl on the Genesis in like magazines and things, and I thought, man, that's so cool because it looked like Double Dragon.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh man, I would love to play that game.
I'm still looking for a port as well. One of the viewers asked if there was a port of Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. I don't think there ever was. That's why it's such a sought-after CPS 1.5 game.
Yep.
Really? It wasn't even like a collection or anything?
It might be in some kind of collection, actually. I mean, but there's not just a straight-up port, a version of it. There is, however, a very, very horrible Cadillacs and Dinosaurs 2 for the Sega CD that I would not recommend to my worst enemy to play. It's full motion video. You're driving through a jungle, avoiding stuff through a pattern, and then you just do that for like 20 levels, and then you actually get to a cool level where you get chased from a dinosaur.
That sounds amazing. I actually want to play that.
You'd probably like it.
I probably would.
I wonder if there was like a licensing issue with Cadillacs and Dinosaurs and why they couldn't, port it to stuff maybe.
Well, wasn't that based on something?
Yeah, I think it was based on, I don't know, some sort of comic book, I think, or a graphic novel. I want to say a graphic novel.
Okay.
To the internet!
To the internet!
To the internet!
Since it was based on a
Goggle the
comic book series
Okay.
called Xenozoic Tales.
Your internet is a lot quieter than my internet is. There was Toki, which had a completely redone version for the Famicom, which is good, and then it had an arcade port for the Genesis, which is bad, because like you couldn't manage it quite enough.
I love that in the arcade.
What, Toki?
Toki.
Yeah, I was supposed to get a arcade game, but the guy sold it out in front of like under me in Craigslist. It was that and another game. It was like they were like $100 each.
What a bastard!
I was just gonna take the PCB board and sell the rest.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I liked it in the arcade. I never played any of the home ports, so I have no idea if it's any good. Somebody was actually remaking Toki, the original Toki. They were
it fell through, unfortunately. They were doing a remaster. Yeah.
They probably because their Magical Drop game did so badly, and then they were like, "Oh well, screw this," because they did a new version of Magical Drop, and apparently it did really shitty. And the same people were going to make this Toki update, and I guess that never happened. Sadly, it was looking really good.
It got to beta, and then they just stopped updating their blog, basically.
Weird.
There was what was the Bonk game that was being worked on?
Oh man.
Beyond Extinction.
Yeah.
For the Xbox.
That was a whole new game. That wasn't a port of anything, right?
No, yeah, that was a whole new game. It was developed by some Western developer or another, but apparently they went bankrupt, I think, and they didn't have like the Hudson backing because like Hudson went away, so
yeah,
I think the game just went by the wayside. That was kind of weird though, so I don't know. I don't know if it's. I mean, it would have been cool to have a new Bonk game, but.
What about that? There's going to be. Oh shoot! It's Monster World 3.
Oh yeah, what happened to that?
Wonder Boy 3 and the Dragon's Trap.
Yeah, and they were just gonna call it Monster Boy.
I think so. That's actually still a thing. I think the Kickstarter's coming out pretty soon, and everything. Although they don't really show a whole lot of the graphics, they just show some of the concept art, and it looks pretty decent. Like, I don't know. I mean, it'd be cool if it was out on like Steam or like the Xbox One or PS4 or something like that. I'd definitely pick it up. Just check it out.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. That game.
One racing game that came out on just about everything that was Sega at the time was the arcade port of Virtua Racing. It was such a weird time for Sega because they were, obviously in 1994 they were pushing a new system. Not only that, but then an add-on to their current system, but yet still released Virtua Racing on the Genesis with the special SVP chip, which is supposed to be like their combatant for the FX chip. However, they didn't realize, people didn't realize that it wasn't just a chip. It was basically like a whole add-on to a console because the carts are gigantic.
I think that has a CPU that's more powerful than the Genesis. Is that what it is? It's either that game or it's the racing game for the 32X.
It could be. It's
Where
really odd.
The CPU clock speed in that game, it has a CPU basically chip in it that's faster than the Genesis.
It's really odd. The game plays pretty nice, actually. Like, it's pretty faithful to the arcade, as best as the Genesis could be for a frickin' polygon racing game. But then, like, a few months later, still in 1994, they released Virtua Racing Deluxe on the 32X, which is almost the same game. Somewhat better graphics, more layers of polygons and stuff, but, like, it's so weird. Like, they're almost competing with themselves, because on this one it says exclusive to the 32X, 3 cars to choose from, 5 different tracks, 4 playable driving views. Like, it's so weird. And then split screen action. This had 2 players. So it's like, okay, so you want me to now? I gotta get the 32X to play the ultimate version of Virtua Racing. And they're like, hold the fuck on, just a second here. Because a year later, they're like, nope, this is the version. Sorry, guys, this is VR Virtual Racing for the Saturn, and this one's got all sorts of exclusive things. And guess all that's left to do now is see how Sega's twin 32-bit RISC engines perform over 300 miles per hour.
Well, look at you, sucker. You got all the ports.
Because they were like $1.99 each. This is $1.90 that I paid for this.
Cheap games.
And I actually really do enjoy this game. I think it's awesome. It's got a kart racer mode that wasn't available in the other ones, and you actually like play in these little like, it's the same Virtua Racing like polygon karts, but they're in kart mode. So like the tires are really big and the driver's really small, and you can play in some of the same levels, but you're on a little kart that can only go like 30 miles per hour or whatever it is, and it's just it's way more fun. It plays and feels like a Mario Kart game with that mode, and my kids and I, we play with it quite a bit, and I think it's a cool game. It's very different from the other two. The other two are Formula Racer arcade games where you got to beat the clock and get around to the next checkpoint and shit like that. And sometimes those are fun games, sometimes not. Virtua Racing on the Saturn's the best version. But I don't know. I just think this is weird because this is like a span of 1 year. 1 year they did all this, and then they're like, fuck it, that series is dead. Like, what is wrong with Sega? What were they thinking?
They were thinking they needed to cash in on it before people realized that the game was crap.
I guess.
So they were
that was some hot arcade shit, man. Like that was
it
back
big
then.
Literally.
Sega Bass Fishing with the Bass Fishing controller was an amazing arcade port that actually made me almost consider getting a Dreamcast. And I was like a Nintendo fanboy at the time.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
Yeah, but like it plays amazing. It looks like, I mean, the Dreamcast is not only an arcade port. I mean, the hardware is basically a Dreamcast with twice the RAM.
Yep.
The Naomi architecture. So it's not even a port. It's like a perfect copy of it, basically.
Yeah, all the Naomi games were like exactly the same on the Dreamcast.
They were.
Yeah.
They really were. Yeah, I loved Sega Bass Fishing, and then I think that it had a sequel that came out on the Dreamcast. I have the fishing controller. It is a lot of fun to play.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I still have been planning to bring in like a little dinghy in my whole room and dress all in bass fishing gear and do a whole like standing fishing and a dinghy boat stream, but I haven't got around to it yet. Yeah.
That's a really good idea, dude. That would be really funny.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun.
I might steal that idea.
You can totally do it. You have a green screen the size of everything?
I don't, but I should get one. You linked me one on eBay or on the chat a few weeks ago, and I put it on my watch list. I have not bit bullet and just bought it. $20 or something like that. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I tried to. I don't have enough lighting for it. Like I have one like.
You have a green screen behind you.
I do, but not enough light, so it like shows up all like. Like I have one.
Mine just works. I mean, mine's messed up a little bit right now, but mine just works with my ceiling. I didn't do any additional lighting.
It's because of where your light is at. It's like at a central location.
A little bit behind me.
Yeah, there's no like lights here. Like I'd have to put one above my head.
You are so lucky.
I was like, fuck it.
The only reason I own a Xbox 360 is for all of the cave ports for the shmups.
Oh yeah.
That's a little bit. That's a little bit too new.
So many So many good shmups on the 360.
There was Death Smiles. It was really good.
Yep.
And then
Daikatana, Mushima Sama Futari,
Raiden Fighters,
Katsu, Raiden Fighters, Jet, and all that whole trilogy.
Yeah, those are great.
A lot of almost not arcade perfect, but close to arcade perfect ports of games that would cost you, $1,000. Mushi Mushi Pork, Pink Squeets. Yeah, they're close to arcade perfect. Let me ask.
Yeah, that was like the shmup system in Japan. Apparently, there's so many.
It's still I'm still really impressed with Xbox 360 and PS3. I see these new systems. I'm like, yeah, they look pretty.
I just find it weird how Japan adopted the 360 for shmups. Kind of weird.
Well, Microsoft attempted to do that, but it still didn't sell at all.
I wonder how that's going to work with the Xbox One in Japan. Apparently nobody bought it.
What we should talk about games that had console releases that should have gotten arcade port. The reverse.
Oh, it should have come on arcades.
Zombies Ate My Neighbors would have made an amazing arcade game.
True.
Possibly.
It would have been interesting. It would have been like Gauntlet. It could have had an arcade machine with 4 different controller ports or joysticks. That would have been pretty fun.
Yeah, it would have been a lot of fun. Yeah, 4-player. Toe Jam and Earl maybe could have made an arcade game.
Sure.
Mega Man, maybe.
Well, there was the Power Battles.
Yeah, Power Battles.
Yeah, that doesn't really count though.
That's true.
They were kind of bleh.
They're okay.
Just boss fights, boss fight runs. That's all it was.
Yeah, it's true.
Not really even a fighting game.
Have you guys played that Mega Man X Street Fighter game that they released? They released 2 versions of it.
Wasn't that on PC?
Yeah, they're on PC. You should check them out. They're both really good. First one's kind of like just a fighter, and the other one is an actual whole Mega Man game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they're free.
Yeah, the bosses were the Street Fighter people, right?
Yeah. And then if you beat it, you can unlock just a straight up versus mode.
That's so cool. Is that on Steam or anything like that?
No, it's just off Capcom's website.
I think it was free.
It was for 20. I think it was the 25th year anniversary for Street Fighter.
That's super cool. Well, I'll definitely check that out. But with that being said, we are nearly out of time. So I want to quickly thank everyone for listening, lending us your ears to molest this week. Thank All Anonymous and his Twitch stream, and Sarumaru and his awesomeness for being a part of the show this week. Thank you guys so much for being here, and you can always follow us on TuneIn. If you're listening on TuneIn, thank you very much. If you're listening on Podomatic, thanks as well. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're listening to us or watching us on Facebook, our Facebook group, we've got over 200 members now. It's so cool. Facebook. And also follow me on a Twitter at _Joshua Turbo. Do not forget the underscore, or I will mule kick you in the horse's nuts. that thing that's 3 feet below your ass.
3 feet. They're just dragging along.
Follow it on Facebook.
Follow us on Facebook. Also, All Anonymous on Twitch and all those other things. So quickly, 3 words or less. All Anonymous.
3 words or less.
Oh, there you go.
About what?
That was not a word.
Pretty close. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being part of the show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Take it easy. See you again next week.
Bye.
Later.